So lastly here, we got, sticking with Ron DeSantis, we have a Florida court halting Florida's drag ban, calling it an attempt to suppress the speech and rights of performers. Wow, wow, wow. So a federal court temporarily on drag performances, warning the new law was overbroad and could risk infringing on free speech rights. The SB 1438 law, signed in May by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, is dangerously susceptible to standardless, overbroad enforcement, which could sweep up substantial protected speech, U.S. Judge Gregory Prisnell wrote in his ruling. Far from a neutral attempt to protect children, as its backers have sometimes claimed, the law is an admitted attempt to specifically suppress the speech of drag queen performers, Judge Presnell wrote. The governor's office told Reuters the ruling was dead wrong. Well, this is a judge, okay? There's a judge that is like went to law school and passed the bar and is able to ascend to become a judge. They just say, it's wrong. It's wrong. Dude, like, we have a system of law and order, and like, it doesn't matter if you think it's wrong, okay? What the judge says goes, and you got. Of course, it's constitutional to prevent the sexualization of children by limiting access to adult live performances, spokesman Jeremy Redfern said. This is just absurd. This is absurd. We have a judge who is saying this restricts the free speech rights of drag performers, and there's no indication that children are being harmed or whatever by a drag performer expressing their First Amendment right, and their response is to just go, no, that's exactly what's happening. Sexualization of children. We gotta fight the sexualization wokeness of children. Like, come on, dude. There's just a broken record on this. The Ron DeSantis campaign. They will not. They're so stubbornly just dumb on this issue. They're not willing to budge, and it's absolutely great to see. Because it means that Ron DeSantis's campaign is going to continue to struggle. So the suit against the state comes from Hamburger Mary's, a restaurant chain that features family-friendly drag performances. An Orlando franchise of the restaurant filed suit in May. It claimed the law, which levies criminal penalties at food establishment for admitting children to an adult live performance, would explicitly restrict or chill speech and expression protected by the First Amendment. This bill has nothing to do with children and everything to do with the continued oppression of the LGBT community, Hamburgers Mary's Orlando wrote in a Facebook post. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has made limiting the rights of LGBTQ people a key part of his agenda, signing bills that restrict gender-affirming care, protections for trans people in schools, and access to youth education on gender and sexuality. This month, courts struck down a Florida rule and statute banning Medicaid payments for transgender health care and partially blocked a state law banning people under 18 from getting gender-affirming medicine. Earlier this month, a federal judge in Tennessee declared the state's drag ban to be unconstitutionally vague and substantially overbroad. There's no question that obscenity is not protected by the First Amendment, Judge Thomas Packer wrote. But there is a difference between material that is obscene in the vernacular and material that is obscene under the law. Simply put, no majority of the Supreme Court has held that sexually explicit but not obscene speech receives less protection than political, artistic, or scientific speech. There it is. I mean, the judge, there it is. It pretty clearly states that sexually explicit speech is protected speech in the same way speech would be scientific. So DeSantis is trying to say that it's obscene, but under the law, there's no vernacular that there's a difference between material that is obscene in the vernacular and material that is obscene under the law. So what they're saying is that just because you have an opinion that this is morally obscene, that doesn't mean that drag performers' First Amendment rights are not to be respected and acknowledged constitutionally. Just because you have a moral bone to pick, well, that doesn't mean that the law is going to be interpreted any differently. And you just really have to wonder how many more of these judge decisions is it going to take for DeSantis to realize that this culture war nonsense that he's bestowed and has pushed onto to his main platform of his campaign is just not working out for him, and it's not winning him any political points with anybody. And the more he tries to clamp down and the more he tries to suppress and repress this already repressed group of people, it's just not working out for him in the way that he would have hoped. And now you have federal courts and judges that are deciding against him continually. It's like, DeSantis, when are you going to get that LGBT people have a right to be LGBT? Okay, because it's called the First Amendment, and it's called you can't restrict somebody from how to love or how to live their life, because there's freedom. We have freedom of speech in this country, and people have the ability to say and do things that not everybody has to agree with. Okay, like, not everybody has to agree with it. Not everybody has to say that drag shows are a morally just great thing, or a morally yes, this is just what everybody should be doing on a Saturday night. I'm not sure why they don't realize that the fact that everybody doesn't go along with that doesn't mean that legally they have any less of a right to practice whatever the heck they want to practice, and spend their time however they want to spend it. We'll see how many more of these legal cases go against Ron DeSantis, and if it deters his attacks on the community at all. I'm going to predict that there are going to be more and more legal challenges to Ron DeSantis's strict LGBTQ bans and repression, and that it's going to continue to make DeSantis look bad, because even in his home state of Florida, where wokeness goes to die or whatever, you have judges that are not agreeing with his legal standpoint for his reasoning as to why he's restricting the LGBTQ community. So we'll see how this continues to hamper his campaign, and we're going to see if it changes his strategy at all. But I'm going to make a prediction that it's not going to change his strategy, and it's going to lead to Trump continually beating him consistently throughout the country.